Welcome everyone to episode 110 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I am your host, Triple J. Joining me is my co-host, Dr. Games 101.
What's up, people? Almost holidays approaching.
We are not usually scheduled. We normally would not be scheduled for this week. We were supposed to have a podcast last week, but me not feeling well is why this was postponed. But then I suggested to do it this week, so we didn't have so many articles to catch up on next week.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So our next episode will most likely be 2 weeks from tonight after this one.
No problem.
Are you ready to jump into the first story, or
Let's do this indeed, bro.
are you ready to jump into the first story?
Yeah, let's do this indeed, my friend.
Okay. All right. First one coming up. Phil Spencer is bullish on Microsoft-Disney partnership for Indiana Jones and Blade. Although Microsoft's Phil Spencer is wary of licensed games, he praises the company's partnership with Lucasfilms and Disney. Despite prominent Disney owner Marvel heroes like Spider-Man and Wolverine having long-term deals on Sony's PlayStation 5, Xbox has deals for a few Disney properties of its own, including Marvel's Blade and Lucasfilm's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer has previously expressed his wariness towards licensed games, but he recently praised Disney and Lucasfilms for being strong partners on their upcoming projects together. I feel great about our partnership with Lucas and Disney, Spencer told GameFile. They've been good partners. We're obviously doing Blade with Arcane Lion with them. I was just out there visiting with that team. During the same interview, Spencer explained that one of the reasons he dislikes dealing with licensed titles is that the licenses can expire, which leads to games being delisted over time. Instead, he prefers to focus on IPs owned by Microsoft's umbrella of developers and studios. But for games like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Spencer is willing to make some exceptions in part because the developer, Machine Games, has such an intense passion for the property. I think that you see in Indiana Jones is a team that really loves Indiana Jones and that world, related Spencer. The story is to me one of the strongest parts of that game. The way you feel like you're Indiana Jones from a first-person perspective. So it's clear that's something they wanted to do. But for us, given the intellectual property that we have had, that we own, I'm a big fan of us using the IP that we haven't even revisited. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle will be coming to Xbox Series and PC on December 9th, while PlayStation 5 fans will have to wait until spring 2025. In the meantime, Microsoft and IHOP are launching an Indiana Jones themed menu starting today, November 18th. Members of IHOP's International Bank of Pancakes will also be able to use their receipt to earn Pan Coins that can be redeemed for Xbox prizes or even a new line of limited edition cups featuring Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, Halo Infinite, and Sea of Thieves designed by Xbox and Xbox artist Matt Tyler.
Ooh,
So let's look at the comments.
that's pretty cool.
So there's only two. Girl You So Crazy says, it sounds like Phil is saying he prefers to use IPs owned by Microsoft, but there are so many IPs they have left on the table and done nothing with, like Banjo-Kazooie and Viva Pinata. Maybe because they haven't figured out how you use them in first person. And Jed I King Hit Dave is they'll revisit more popular titles and exhaust them before returning to games like Viva Pinata. That's the beauty of owning the properties. It's just backstock to them. Something they can bring back for a rainy day when sales have been poor or their Call of Duty money dries up, which I don't see that happening anytime soon, especially with the Activision buyout. Hey, they, being Microsoft, got more profitable ventures with other IPs than Viva Pinata. You'll probably never see sequels for those type of games, or not for a very long time. Maybe if there's enough of an outcry from fans for whatever. So what do you think of Phil Spencer's response to basically praising Disney and LucasArts for the new Indiana Jones game and for the new Blade game that we hadn't heard about?
The Blade game I never heard about it until recently for the last couple of days now, thanks to you, of course. And that's something new right there, then and there. So hopefully the Blade game will be better than Indiana Jones, from my perspective, because all the action package stuff. Because while here with Indiana Jones video game, and it's more of a first-person shooter slash platforming game of sorts, and that's all right and well. But we know Indiana Jones games to be more like a third-person perspective, especially back during the Nintendo 64 days. And even though that game sucked to reviewers and all, but that was a good start to, and trying to relive Indiana Jones in a gaming type of sense. So if they can do this with this game, start next week when it's released, let's see what happens and see what the sales are telling people. Especially if it's on the Game Pass, especially, right? So yeah.
Yeah. So so what really is happening is, what I think anyway, it's they just I don't know why Phil Spencer's praising LucasArts and Disney so much, because Phil Spencer, keep in mind, he's the worst at using any intellectual properties that he owns. I mean, he bought out Activision Blizzard and used Call of Duty.
Yep.
Between Activision and Blizzard, they own more than Call of Duty.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's news to Phil Spencer, but I mean, he's the worst at using what he has.
Oh yeah.
And don't forget, last time we talked about this, he's said he was even interested in gobbling up more studios to get their IPs.
It's a duopoly at this point between PlayStation, Sony, and Microsoft Xbox now, because there's no choice anymore, and it's all about consolidating the IPs, make sure that they'll get out people other potential uprising companies, whether it's the next Xbox, the next Nintendo, whatever comes first. So, and it wasn't like this back during the 1990s, because we have like Sega and Atari, Nintendo, PlayStation, Sony, and all that stuff. Like it was a big market. Sega Dreamcast, even it's Saturday. These guys were competing with each other, but now it's been consolidated since the late 2000s, and now we see this. It's the end result, and we get shitty games. That's what people say lately. It's been like shitty, or it's been low quality, and it's AAA of all games too. So there's no problems with the independent games like that. Of the game I played the other day, The Amazing Princess Sarah, or it's Penitence, I think it's called. Like I mentioned last week, I'm gonna play that sometime next month or this month. So yeah, it's pretty interesting that they're still gathering games up between these two companies.
Yeah, So I mean, Phil Spencer can praise those companies. Also, what he said about IPs expiring. Yeah, but the thing is, look at Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3. The the historical footage in those games was going to expire, so they just did the license so they could continue selling those games. That's all you have to do if you don't want an IP to expire, especially if it's a popular IP that continues to make you money.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, like I said, don't ask me what Phil Spencer's thinking, because my answer would probably be something like two monkeys arguing over a banana. Having a tug of war back and forth. Because I really can't. I can't make heads or tails of what Phil Spencer thinks. Some of the decisions, yeah, okay, I'll get it. I graduated high school. I never graduated college in anything. But even I look at these and I'm like, I would not do that if I was in your position. I would do this instead. And it's just like, what makes Phil Spencer think this was a great idea? It's the same guy that passed on Spider-Man and Grand Theft Auto, and Guitar Hero and Destiny. So, yeah, I mean, and I think he's really also. I think Indiana Jones and Blade, and I don't want to jinx them, but I think Indiana Jones and Blade are the new Redfall and Starfield. If you remember in 2022, how he was banking on those two games, like the future of Xbox depended on those two games. It's now these two games he's focused on.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, these titles, these IPs, are originally from LucasArts, and what's the other one? Blade as well as from
Disney.
Disney as well as Marvel and all. So it's a supported by any means necessary, regardless of what platform it's on, and it's also a timed exclusive, up to 6 months at most, not 1 year. So this will be interesting to see what's going to be like for the next few months with these sales
Yeah.
overall.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see how Indiana Jones is. We'll see if giving Indiana Jones over to PlayStation in its first year was a good idea. I don't see how that would be profitable. Um, but at the same time, you could even say, well, Phil Spencer's more occupied with Game Pass. Okay, but if Phil Spencer's more occupied with Game Pass, what has he done for Game Pass? He put two Call of Duty titles on there: Modern Warfare 3 Reboot and Call of Duty Black Ops 6.
Oh, yeah.
Like I said, if you're going to do that, put the original Modern Warfare 3 on there. Put the Black Ops on there so people could see where the Black Ops franchise began. Put Modern Warfare 2 original on there, since most people, since that really can't be re-released nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to the no Russian mission.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it's like Phil Spencer's not even doing for Game Pass. It's not even like he's putting all his he's not even putting all his work into Game Pass. I mean, Game Pass is an afterthought at this point.
Yeah, it's a lot of games to choose from in the Game Pass selection. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, in the long term, it's kind of like what other new games going to re-release, or let alone try to release all new IPs. That's the biggest thing that Microsoft can do right now, is to release more new games. But they haven't too. That's the thing though. For the last several days, was mainly independent AA style type of games. That's all they can do for the time being with the Microsoft system. So.
Oh, I did forget. They also added Spyro: The Reignited Trilogy to Game Pass.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Is there anything else that you want to just talk about, or ready to move on?
We can move on.
Okay, next. Just one moment. Okay. Next, Xbox Game Pass November 2024 Wave 2 lineup announced. Also, these games should be live. It says Nine Souls, Aliens, Dark Descent, and more coming too. Microsoft has announced the next wave of games coming to Game Pass, taking subscribers up to the end of November. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 for Cloud PC and Xbox Series hits Game Pass Ultimate and PC. Game Pass as a first-party Day 1 release from Xbox Game Studios and developer Asobo Studios. Tomorrow, the 20th, Game World long-awaited Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, hits Cloud PC and Xbox Series. PC Game Pass as another Day 1 launch. So this must have been the first. This must be a sequel to the first game we played, because we played some game like that.
Right.
Little Kitty Big City, just for console, launches into Game Pass Standard. It's already available with Game Pass Ultimate and PC. Also, Played Up, just for console, is coming to Game Pass Standard. Nine Solace, coming to Cloud PC and Xbox Series, arrives on Game Pass Ultimate and PC. Game Pass Nine Souls is a lore-rich, hand-drawn 2D action platformer with Sekiro-inspired deflection-based combat. And a day later, Aliens Dark Descent on Cloud Console and PC launches to Game Pass Ultimate, PC Game Pass, and Game Pass Standard. In Aliens Dark Descent, you command a squad of colonial marines to stop a xenomorph outbreak on Moon Leith. IGN's Aliens Dark Descent review returned a 7 out of 10. Recent Aliens Dark Descent is a fascinating, tense-inspired survival horror, real-time strategy with a few too many technical bugs to recommend it without caveats. So that's Microsoft also announced the games leaving Game Pass a week ago. As always, you could have bought them if you didn't want to lose them. They were Conan Exiles, left Cloud Console and PC. Cornwall Island, left PC. Hello Neighbor 2, left Cloud Console and PC. The rest left, the West left Cloud console PC, unless I say otherwise. Remnant from the Ashes, Rollerdrome, Soccer Story, Spirit of the North, The Walking Dead, the final season left PC, and While the Iron's Hot. So let's go to comments and see what people think. Armstand goes, Nine Souls is supposed to be really good. That is a good surprise get for me. Boogie0423 goes, looks pretty dope. Hollow Knight Samurai Cat. And then, just one moment. See if I can look at more comments. Just looked it up. Looks right up my alley. I just got a Legion Go, and this game looks perfect for that. Xbox looks like it will finish the year really strong. So, do any of the games announced, whether leaving or arriving, interest you at all?
That new, I want to call it new, is it the Alien video game from like that was released earlier this year, last year, right? The Resurrection, I think it's called.
Which one?
Alien. Going with the clothing memories.
Yeah, Alien. Let me see. I think it's Dark Descent. Aliens, Dark Descent.
I see. It came out last year by the looks of things. Okay. So if I recall correctly, the previous Aliens game, Alien Colony over Marines, that had a horrible launch because all the bugs in it and sorts. So it's kind of like a huge, a loss to the Alien / Predator franchise of sorts of gamers, for the gamers, that is. So, it was a huge blow to it. Because I was anticipating getting that game myself back in 2013, 2014, give or take, when it came out around that time. So the Alien Dark Descent, is kind of like the sequel to it, of sorts. So yeah.
Yeah. I do have to say, none of these games. It's a shame that people missed out on the final season of The Walking Dead for PC. That left Game Pass.
Okay.
But Aliens Dark Descent does sound interesting, especially when you play as the Marines, because that's usually the best way to play Aliens, since you can use guns.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, other than that, I guess that also Nine Solace is also that's really a wild card. I mean, that's honestly, I think of all the releases and all these are on Game Pass by now. I think that's the game that most people is basically what most people are going to care about for Game Pass.
Right.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. Next. And I'm going to have something to say about this. Some games like Star Wars Jedi Survivor actually look worse on PS5 Pro. The Silent Hill 2 remake is another game that seems to suffer some shortcomings. The PlayStation 5 Pro has been out in the wild for over a week now, and while it offers impressive improvements on many existing games, there are also some for which it seems to introduce new issues that make things look worse. Star Wars Jedi Survivor and the Silent Hill 2 remake are just a couple of games that new PS5 Pro owners and Digital Foundry analysis are finding issues with. I hate that Kotaku has to add videos mixed in with their articles. The PS5 Pro is supposed to offer additional graphics modes for enhanced games that allow them to run at a higher frame rate without sacrificing graphical detail, thanks in part to a new PSSR upscaling technology. And that's definitely the case across a host of first-party blockbusters like Spider-Man and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, as well as the third-party exclusives like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Unfortunately, not every game is benefiting from its PS5 Pro update. I'm shocked. So, continue reading. Digital Foundry's breakdown of Star Wars Jedi Survivor's visuals on the new hardware found problematic image quality issues in the 60 frames per second performance mode in particular. Part of the issue appears to be how foliage and the new ray tracing feature interact to create a strobing effect that make it look like bushes are shimmering. Star Wars Jedi Survivor was infamous for some launch day visual issues as well, and many of the current problems on Pro appear to be related to a dynamic resolution that can dip as low as 720p. When it comes to the Silent Hill 2 remake, the issue is that the PS5 Pro update still isn't out, and the game has weird shimmering problems in the meantime. Even without an official enhancement, the game should still look the same or slightly more stable thanks to the general boost from the console's better specs. Instead, players have been complaining for a week now in hopes that a fix will get announced by Bloober Team. I absolutely adore this game, and I cannot stop playing it, even though I want to, wrote one player. A PS5 Pro enhancement is absolutely necessary in this case. The game feels great, but it looks like crap. So, what's the hang-up? Well, there's no official word yet on what's causing these problems, and if it's on the game's end. Hold on. If it's on the game's end or related to something with the PS5 Pro itself. A current theory among some owners is that the problems are caused by game resolutions below 1080p that are being upscaled by the Pro's PSSR technology. Games that have a higher base resolution seem to have with the upscaling. I think it maybe shows that devs should not just blindly add PSSR games for a game unless they really look at the subjective output and say, this is great. This is a great win. Digital Foundry's Alex Bataglis said during a recent video, because if the current model cannot scale from a resolution this low and make it look good, they shouldn't add it, right? Currently, Dragon Age, The Veilguard, and Alan Wake 2, which both run below 1080p, also seem to have suboptimal performance on the PS5 Pro. While there are dozens of games that are currently enhanced for PS5 Pro and not encountering these issues, as well as thousands more benefiting from the overall boost made from the better hardware, it's still a notable flaw for the console launch, especially considering its hefty $700 price tag. Now, an update came out at 4 p.m. on November 19th. Both Bloober Team and EA confirmed they are investigating issues with Silent Hill 2 and Jedi Survivor respectively on PS5 Pro. We're working on it, Bloober Team tweeted. Let me see if there's another update. Yes, on November 22nd at 10:50 a.m., a new 1.06 patch for Silent Hill 2 addresses some of the PS5 Pro problems, among other issues. It doesn't go into detail, and instead simply states, fixed graphic glitches on PlayStation 5 Pro. Well, aren't you glad that you can pay $700 and play games that have worse graphics on this console?
Yeah, I heard about the commotion with the PS5 Pro so far, and I do think though, I mean, the Jedi. It's obvious with Jedi Survivor is going to be horrible because Jedi Survivor already had bugs in it previously on the PS5 original. So what to expect, right? So it's going to be a double whammy if you try to improve the graphics on a buggy game. So it's obvious, right? So
yeah, but they're charging they're charging $700 or even $800 if you want this disc drive and the stand for the PS5 Pro. They had no new games coming out at the same time, and they make some of your current games that you've been playing look shittier.
Oh yeah. And the newest game for the PS5 Pros will come out to the earliest April of 2025. So you got to wait another at least 4 months later for the matter.
Yeah, I mean, I miss when these issues were ironed out before the consoles came out.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, like I said, the PS5 Pro looked like a scam at right away, and now you're paying hundreds of dollars and you get to play your games with even worse graphics. Don't you feel like you made a great investment?
Oh yeah, there's this YouTube gamer by the name of Oh No It's Alex with 2 X's at the end, and he actually explained that it was a scam from the start of it, like you just said. So he was explaining that how they screw up on the buggy portion of these games like Jedi Survivor or anything like in regard about all the newest games that came out for the last several months now, and then they forget about fixing those games first before upgraded to the PS5 Pro, which might further screw up the console, even not console, but the game itself, like Jedi Survivor. So it's like what they were expecting, like to try to they're trying to blanket over it, like, or sweep it under the rug. And they did a horrible job of doing so.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, uh, it's also another aspect or another reason I hate modern gaming. Um, I don't want to play. I don't want to pay for another console that's now like that's now even more expensive than what consoles in the past cost to make my games look awful.
Oh yeah.
What's the point? And then these people will get to it later. Great, you're working on it. I'm still waiting.
Yeah, the product's already out
for you
and
to
about.
tell me why this is worth my money.
Yep, the product's already out and about. Like, it's already should have been fixed by the time you release the game, as any other game supposed to do for the last 35, 40 years now. For the last 7 years, it's been getting worse. All its releases.
But keep in mind that this was basically the only selling point of the PS5 Pro.
Oh yeah.
Like I said, I agree with Phil Spencer once, because when he was throwing shade at the PS5 Pro, although he said more Xboxes were coming, which kind of contradicted his opinion. But like I said, that's another reason it's hard to see where Phil Spencer stands, because it changes about as often as the normal person changes underwear.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other, like I said, the only benefit this had, it's not even doing that right.
Oh yeah.
So like I said, you have to pay hundreds of dollars, and you got some of your games to look actually worse. Wow.
Maybe the Ratchet and Clank games that might look slightly better, but that's about it. Everything else kind of went to crap.
Yeah, and for the games that look better, before people try to defend that, these games are not looking better unless, like I said, you go over the graphics from the normal PS5 and the graphics from the PS5 Pro with like a fine-tooth comb. Like, maybe some faces will be more detailed in Gran Turismo from the stands than they are on the regular PS5. Oh, yeah. Is that really worth $700?
Oh yeah, no. Unless you're rich, very wealthy, it's like to you, it's like $25, but that's just the wealthy people, of course. So. Yeah.
So I mean.
And the scalpers are not even helping it. The scalpers aren't helping it. The scalpers are doubling the prices on some of these PS5 Pro, especially the 30th anniversary PS version.
Yeah, I heard scalpers are actually losing money on the PS5 Pros, which is probably the only positive to actually come out of the PS5 Pro. But right. It's yeah, but I mean but like I said, the one selling point they had to hold you over till new games came out, it's not even doing that.
Yeah, the improved graphics portion.
Yeah, it's new. It's improved graphics for some games.
Yeah.
Card subject to change. Anything else, or ready to move on?
We can move on.
Okay. Next. Donkey Kong Land is out now on Nintendo Switch Online, but not Donkey Kong 64. Another rare title gets added to the service, joining last month's Banjo-Tooie. Nintendo continues to minecart developer Rare's back catalog for Switch Online, as Donkey Kong Land is the latest addition to the subscription service. The Game Boy game, which originally launched in 1995, is now available on Switch Online. Coming out a year after Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo, Donkey Kong Land saw Rare trying to bring the same sort of side-scrolling experience to the less powerful Game Boy. This handheld title even features a familiar soundtrack, which can be heard below. Donkey Kong Land is the first Game Boy title featuring Nintendo's Lovable 8. Another classic for their platform is Donkey Kong 94, I think that was supposed to be 64, which hasn't been added to Switch Online yet. People are also clamoring for Donkey Kong 64, but that Rare developed title also hasn't come to the subscription service. Okay, so Donkey Kong 94, I never heard of that.
Those are the first Donkey Kong game.
Okay. Many other Rare games... Many other Rare games are now on Switch Online after this year. In February, 5 classic Rare games came to the service, such as Killer Instinct and RC Pro-Am. That lineup also saw Blast Corps land on Switch Online expansion pack, the premium tier for the subscription service. A basic Switch Online sub costs $20 a year, while the expansion pack upgrade is $50 annually. Last month, Banjo-Tooie hit Switch Online and expansion pack almost 3 years after the original N64 game landed on the service. Meanwhile, the Donkey Kong Country trilogy is already available on Switch Online. In January, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is set to hit Switch. So let's look at the comments. Chris Chai's X Rule goes, they just dropped Donkey Kong Land 2 as well. Seems Donkey Kong 64 is imminent. And Nintendians goes, Donkey Kong 64 is eventually coming. So do you have any experience with the Donkey Kong trilogy on Game Boy or Donkey Kong 64?
I never played the Game Boy Color games per se, or the Game Boy games of Donkey Kong per se.
Right.
The Super Nintendo, I did play the first Super Nintendo Donkey Kong game, which is Donkey Kong back in 94, 93, give or take. If I recall correctly, that is. It's been over 30 years I haven't played that game specifically. Because that's the best Donkey Kong game so far, in my opinion, after Super Nintendo and all. So, because prior to Super Nintendo, it was all the arcade games, like with Mario and such, like the Donkey Kong Country and shit like that. So, no, Donkey Kong. What's it called? Donkey Kong for the Mario game. That's
Donkey Kong. It's Donkey Kong Land.
Donkey Kong Land. Oh, Donkey Kong Land. Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. Excuse me. I'm thinking about Donkey Kong Land. That's the Super Nintendo game.
No, the Super Nintendo game is Donkey Kong Country.
Okay, I'm confused. What's fuck now? It was so many years. See, it's getting expensive to find the decent games I want to play again. Obviously, I can use emulators and stuff, but that's like a hassle right there, in my opinion, to go through the files and gotta connect this, gotta connect that. It's just so much to go back on over the last 20 plus years now. These definitely passed by so quickly for me. I felt like yesterday I was playing those games. I was playing the Donkey Kong Country games back in the early 90s. It was a sleepover party, or not sleepover party, like a sleepover with these two other kids, whatever, and we're watching Batman, the animated series, as well as Donkey Kong Country and all. It was a good experience and all. And wow, time was flying by so quickly for me. So.
Well, I have to say, I've never, as much as I love Donkey Kong Country, I got all 3 Super Nintendo games saved on my Wii U,
Nice.
so I can play the Donkey Kong Country trilogy anytime I want. I've never actually tried out the Donkey Kong Land games. I think these were like the answer to Super Mario Land, because you had Super Mario World on Super Nintendo, and then you had the Super Mario Land games on Game Boy.
Yes.
And you had just the Mario Brothers titles on Nintendo. But yeah, so I've never played any of the Donkey Kong Land games, but if they're basically a portable version of Donkey Kong Country, I would really love to try those out. And Donkey Kong 64, I'm not really a big fan of. I played it a couple different times. I do not like it. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
You move on.
Okay. But we're not done with Donkey Kong Land yet, because there is another update. Nintendo adds another Donkey Kong game to Switch Online, and it's still not Donkey Kong 64. The entire Game Boy trilogy is now available on the subscription service. Just like that, Nintendo has brought the entire Donkey Kong Land trilogy to Switch Online. Today, Donkey Kong Land 3 has landed on the subscription service, though people are still pounding the table for Donkey Kong 64. Sorry, the DK rap will have to wait. Donkey Kong Land 3 originally released in 1997 for Game Boy. The side-scrolling title sees Dixie and Diddy Kong in the spotlight as they search for the lost world. However, like Donkey Kong and Diddy before them, they'll have to deal with the Kremlings throughout 36 levels. Not even 2 weeks ago, Nintendo brought Donkey Kong Land to Switch Online. Then last week, Donkey Kong Land 2 hit the subscription service. Looking ahead, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD is set to launch next month on Switch, serving as a remaster of the Wii title. Nintendo has been bringing new games to the Switch Online catalog at a pretty rapid clip recently. Tetris for Nintendo is coming to the subscription service on December 12th, and 3 Sega Genesis titles arrived on Switch Online expansion pack last week. Switch Online costs $20 a year for individuals, while the premium expansion pack goes for $50 annually. The basic tier offers access to the Game Boy library, including the Donkey Kong Land trilogy, while the expansion pack tier offers up Genesis titles as well as Nintendo 64 games, plus more. So let's look at the comments. Dushness goes, sad that they continue to gate these games behind sub. So this is probably going to be a short discussion. But yeah, if you're a big fan of Donkey Kong Land Trilogy, all three are now available on Nintendo Switch. But if you were waiting for the Donkey Kong 64, like the guy who wrote this article, you're still waiting.
Oh, yeah.
But honestly, like I said, if there was one game that was going to have to get the shaft from Donkey Kong, I'd rather it be Donkey Kong 64. I'm sorry, it's my least favorite. I wasn't a fan of the levels in that game. It's just,
Yeah, I personally myself never played Donkey Kong 64, so I can't say much about it after all these decades not be able to play after all these years and decades now. So it's kind of baffled and at the same time, clueless in my mind what it's like to play 64, Donkey Kong 64. I started looking up on YouTube and I see the gameplay and all, but back in the day, though, it was different, obviously, because of we had the internet, or most people didn't have the internet back then. So
right,
yeah,
and information was not accessible.
Yeah, it took like forever to download an image of like Tori Wilson or something like that.
Yeah,
well, actually, it was Miss Hancock with the that's also not Stacy Keibler in WWE. So.
Okay, you were gonna work that in there eventually.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was the good old days of wrestling, right?
Yeah, we'll never get those days back either.
Yeah, the patriarchy, misogynists,
But yeah, so like I said, Donkey Kong Land, Donkey Kong, and the whole trilogy is now available on Switch, and honestly, I'm not really big on Donkey Kong Country Remaster HD whatever, because they're basically selling the same Wii game of Donkey Kong Country Returns, just with maybe better graphics.
Oh yeah.
So
this was remastered. There was a remaster by any chance?
It's a remaster, yeah.
Okay. That's
anything? So what need to move on?
Yes, we can move on from now on.
All right. Next, PlayStation 2024 confirmed. Sony has confirmed the PlayStation Plus monthly games for December 2024, and they revealed some bonus extra to coincide with the wider PlayStation 30th anniversary celebrations. In a PlayStation blog post, Sony said It Takes Two, Aliens Dark Descent, and Temtem all launched December 3rd for PlayStation Plus members until January 6th. It Takes Two is Hazelight Studios' co-op platform adventure, and it released into PlayStation Plus is well-timed given developers teased the announcement of its next game. IGN's It Takes Two review returned a 9 out of 10. We said It Takes Two is a beautiful breakneck-paced co-op adventure that's bubbling over with creativity. Aliens Dark Descent is Tindelos Interactive's real-time tactics game set in the Alien universe. IGN Aliens Dark Descent review called it a fascinating, tense-inspired survival horror real-time strategy with a few too many technical bugs to recommend cats. Temtem is Crima's RPG incomplete MMO that has some great ideas for improving upon the monster catching genre. PlayStation Plus members had until December 2nd to add Hot Wheels Unleashed 2, Turbocharged, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Death Note Killer into their game libraries. Meanwhile, Sony's PlayStation's 30th anniversary celebrations give PlayStation Plus premium members a game trial of Saber Interactive's third-person melee shooter Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 from December 3rd. Sony also confirmed 3 PlayStation Classic titles joining PlayStation Plus Premium lineup in December. From December 10th, members get Sucker Punch's Sly 2, Band of Thieves, and Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves, and also Naughty Dog's PS2 adventure, Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy. Expect more news on the full PlayStation Plus gaming catalog and premium lineups later, Sony said. And finally, there's a free online multiplayer weekend set for this weekend. During those days, you can enjoy online multiplayer for games you own without having a PlayStation Plus membership on PS5 and PS4. So let's look at the comments. So just one moment. So Devilman EX goes, bought the EA subscription for a month so I could play It Takes Two. Happy I get to own it now. We'll gladly play this game again during holiday. Game is a certified 10. New Jack Swing says, I thought the non-stop cheater and incessant jokes were too much. I became very annoyed halfway through. The dialogue was quantity over quality. Seemed like the guy was trying to do a Nolan North impression. And General Chaos goes, tell me next week when they're actually released. Every time they do this, I think they're available now. LOL. So, did you have an interest in any of these games, either the ones that came to PlayStation Plus or the PlayStation Classic catalog?
Ghostwire Tokyo, I played for the first 45 minutes. That was pretty good. It wasn't so bad.
Which one?
Ghostwire Tokyo, I think it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the other games, though, unfortunately. I forgot what was the other ones, though.
Right. Well, I do own Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves for the PlayStation 2. And I think I did play Jak and Daxter, The Precursor Legacy on PlayStation 2. So those are definitely some good games.
All right.
That are coming to the classics. As for the new ones, whether it's Temtem or It Takes Two or whatever, I did not try those out. So I could not comment either way.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I have nothing else to say about this matter. We can move on.
Okay. All right. So next. Court order delays Microsoft plans to allow Xbox games to be purchased directly in the Xbox app on Android. Xbox's Sarah Bond says the team is ready to go live as soon as the court makes a final decision. Last month, Microsoft announced that thanks to a recent ruling, it would allow people buy and play Xbox games directly from the Xbox app on Android, starting in November. But as we reach the end of the month, it looks like those plans will have to wait a bit. Xbox President Sarah Bond announced on Twitter on Wednesday.
Hello, James.
At Xbox, we want to offer players more choices on how and where they play, including being able to play and buy games directly from the Xbox app, Bond wrote. I recently shared our ambition to unlock these features, first with the Google Play Store on Android devices in the US, while other app stores adapt to meet consumer demand. Due to a temporary administrative stay recently granted by the courts, we are currently unable to launch these features as planned, she continued. Our team has the functionality built and ready to go live as soon as the court makes a final decision. We are eager to launch and give more choice and flexibility to players. Microsoft announced its plans following a recent decision by a U.S. judge that forces Google to open up its PlayStation Store to competitors for 3 years. Per the ruling, the latest victory in Epic Games' long-running antitrust battle against Google, Google will have carry third-party Android app stores. So for Microsoft, the ruling meant that in theory it would be free to sell Xbox games on Android devices and allow them to be streamed as soon as they're purchased from within the same app without having to use Google Play billing. However, it's currently unclear what this court order will mean for Microsoft's plans beyond just delaying them. The ability to expand purchasing to the Google Play Store was only one of Microsoft's recent moves to grow Xbox footprint in the mobile space. In May, Bond announced that Microsoft was planning to launch its own mobile game store in July, although that's been delayed. In the wake of Microsoft's $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard, which owns Candy Crush maker King, the company certainly has more firepower to bring to the mobile landscape. So, let's look at comments. Your Josh and me goes, the more Xboxes stop, the better. Boons123 goes, stopped for what reason? I actually want to see what reason. Hughes Cat goes, they launched them here, here, and here. And Jay Ryan goes, he's just jealous that mobile gaming is bigger than PC and console, which is subjective. But what do you think of Xbox? Basically, they tried to release mobile games on Google Play Store and be able to be played through Android, but now that's delayed. So what do you think of this for Xbox?
I guess you can say it kind of sucks for the average Xbox user that wants to play games through the Android phone on the Xbox app and all, because obviously between Microsoft and Google, it's kind of like a battle between like who's going to get to what rights or to how much money, depending on how you look at it. That's how I look at it too. It's got to be more to it than meets the eye with who's going to get the most money out of how much supplies of the matter via this app on the store of Android. So it's let's see what happens for the next few months. It's like Activision Blizzard acquisition, but it's a little bit smaller than that, obviously, because it involves like compatibility issues as well as rights issues. So
yeah. I mean, it definitely does suck because at least they were trying to do something with their mobile. They were trying to do something with the mobile games they have, and they do have a lot that they can add to this.
Oh yeah,
but unfortunately, that's it. Just sucks that now I mean, it's a delay. Honestly, I really don't own an Android phone, so this doesn't affect me personally. Although I don't do much gaming on my cell phone unless they're cell phone apps. But yeah, so it does suck that this didn't work. But at the same time, I would have a lot more sympathy if they were still focusing on their other business projects and not just. They seem to be doing one at a time.
Yeah. They try to do Xbox anywhere these days, so that's what's the new thing going on with Phil Spencer and Xbox for the past few months now, where you can play anywhere on your phone, a tablet, you name it. So
yeah, so as more updates come out about this, we'll definitely keep you informed as we find out about it. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
I just want to say though that Xbox is trying to be the next like all-in-one entertainment system or entertainment aspect of the entertainment world, rather than be an actual gaming console for the past several months now, if not years actually. It's been like this for years, where they try to tap into that market for the Android phone, even for other phones out there. I'll doubt for that Windows phone. I haven't heard anything from their Windows phone in years now, so it must have been a flop to them. This is trying to move on from the matter. So it's only a matter of time where they're going to have it anywhere you can play your Xbox games. And PlayStation Sony, well, they're going to be behind that matter, but it won't be more specifically for gaming, the Sony PlayStation. So it's going to be interesting to see how the market's going to be like within the next couple of years from now, from all this Anywhere project with Microsoft.
Yeah,
that's all I got to say for the matter.
I definitely agree. Is anything so ready to move on?
Yeah, we can move on.
All right. Next, Square Enix's Triangle Strategy mysteriously removed from Nintendo eShop. Tactical RPG Triangle Strategy has been removed from the Nintendo eShop for no given reason. With no explanation, Square Enix Tactical Fantasy RPG Triangle Strategy has been removed from the Nintendo Switch eShop. However, Square Enix confirmed on Twitter that players who have already purchased it can still play and download it whenever they like. The game is still available on Steam and on sale, and the publisher also confirmed that the game is simply temporarily unavailable, but gave no timetable on a return. Triangle Strategy is temporarily unavailable to purchase on Nintendo Switch eShop, Square Enix posted. Those who have already bought the game will be able to download it. We are working on this and will update when the game is able to be purchased again. A similar situation happened back in March when Octopath Traveler was quietly deleted on the eShop, but restored with a slight change. The publisher had changed, shifting from Nintendo's Square Enix for worldwide sales. It could be a licensing situation, and Triangle Strategy will eventually come back with a different publisher under its name. There is also the possibility that it's getting primed for a bigger release to the PS5 and Xbox, which would be similar to Octopath Traveler 2 and would fit Square Enix's recent attempts to bring its games to more platforms. So there's only one comment. The game's value will skyrocket if it's pulled from digital sales permanently, said Third 7586. So, do you think the game being let me get the game name again.
Triangle Strategy.
Yeah, do you think Triangle Strategy is possibly going to be released on PS5, and that's why it was removed from the Nintendo eShop?
To be honest with you, when it comes to games like Triangle Strategy, I never heard of before, so I don't know how good or popular the game is in my perspective. But if it's been a good game back in the God knows when it was released, then and we try to say for the PS5 store or the PS4, not to. So I'm sorry for the Nintendo system. Excuse me, it's called the what's that called? The Switch 2, if ever it's called like that. So that's how I feel about the matter. Because you know how it is the pattern with Nintendo, where it's like every generation of gaming from the Wii U, Wii, it's switching over several games onto the shop and then shut it on the shop, start the new games all over again of the older games put onto the new store. So it's gonna be like that for the next system coming out next year, hopefully, if not next couple years from now.
Yeah, I think it's just a licensing issue.
Okay.
Once Square Enix works it out with Nintendo eShop, whatever the issue seems to be, I think Triangle Strategy will be back.
Is Triangle Strategy still like a puzzle platforming game of sorts, or a puzzle game?
Let me see if I still have the article up. I don't. I don't have the article up still. So just give me a moment and I'll look for it.
Yeah, sure. I never heard that game before. Triangle Strategy. That's new to me right there. Well, it's similar to
It's a tactical fantasy RPG.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And what game was the Swiss system that came out beforehand? On what system?
It was on Nintendo eShop and it's on Steam.
Oh, okay. Oh, it was original eShop.
Yeah. Well, no, the Switch eShop.
Okay.
But they said it was removed. No explanation was given to even them, and now, but it's still on Steam for people who want to get it that way.
I see what you mean. Okay, because yeah, it's new to me right there. That title, the name of itself. So I'll try it out one day. See if I can get it either emulate it we want to figure out the new stuff on the emulation, or just get a copy of the Switch system was on sale next Christmas.
Right. All right. So yeah, ready to move on?
We can move on now.
Okay. Next. Get Warcraft 1 and 2 for $13 before they are delisted next week. GOG will still allow those who purchase the games to access them. GOG has announced that Warcraft 1 and 2 will be delisted on December 13th per developer Blizzard's request. However, the games will still be playable for those who purchase them. If you want to buy them before they are gone, GOG is selling the Warcraft 1 and 2 bundle for $13, was $15, with promo code Make Warcraft Live Forever. GOG also revealed a new feature in its preservation program which lets delisted games retain the compatibility after they are removed from the storefront. GOG will provide tech support for the games, including support for future potential Windows OS changes that may affect them. We are grateful for the opportunity to work with Blizzard on these titles, GOG said in a statement. While the delisting is unfortunate, we assure you that every user who already owns these games on GOG will continue to benefit from our commitment and have access to versions that remain compatible with modern systems, preserving their experience for years to come. Warcraft 1 and 2 were remastered last month and came with a bevy of new features. Warcraft 1 received revamped controls and user interface adjustments, while Warcraft 2 still supports multiplayer and legacy map compatibility. So there's 3 comments, so let me see. Slanmax goes, aren't these free anyway on Battle.net, or am I remembering something else? Tommy Drug said in response, I think that you can keep on your disk and run them independently from any launcher. So, what do you think of Warcraft 1 and 2 being delisted even though they're being remastered?
Unfortunately, I never really got my chance to get into the World of Warcraft games. It's been such a long time it started, 20 years ago this year. So it's kind of like, 20 years too late to start over or to start from scratch. But, if it's on sale for $13 and on GOG.com, yeah, I got $15 to spare plus tax or whatever. So it's, why not try it out? Is it all still online, the servers, or that's basically just offline content right now? The Warcraft games.
GOG said, I don't know if you can still buy them, but they said for anyone who did buy them already, you'll still be able to download them.
Interesting. Okay. Because if they're still selling it on sale for that save World of Warcraft game with the promo code,
Yeah, and I mean the remasters aren't out yet, I don't think. Okay. But it seems like they're basically saying if you can't buy them, if you can still buy them, but that's not going to be the case for much longer. I never got into World of Warcraft. I never tried it. I do remember the Mr. T commercial like 20 years ago.
Oh, shit.
When Warcraft first came out.
It was Mr. T? Okay.
Yeah, you don't remember the commercial?
I think I missed those commercials by far.
Like Mr. T was talking about how he created. He's like, join me in the Mohawk class, and the director would go, Mr. T, there's no Mohawk class, and Mr. T goes, oh, maybe I created a Mohawk class. Maybe I'm handy with computers. Did you ever think of that, Mr. Condescending Director?
Okay, yeah, I just want to buy right now.
And he was promoting World of Warcraft in those commercials.
I see. Maybe I should buy them tonight.
Yeah, like Dr. Games 101 said, though, I never actually tried out the games. I feel like I'd be getting into some. I do think it's an MMO though, so
yes,
yeah. So those games, like, unless you really are gonna get invested into the world, it's best not to spend your money on MMO.
Also for like those hardcore veteran gamers who've been there for years, not decades of the game.
Yeah. So, but the good news is at least they're not going to be unavailable, like seems to be the case with most games being released. Like, oh no, you can't get the old ones. Now you got to get the new remastered and buy them again.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We can move up from now on.
Okay. Next, all NASCAR games will soon be delisted. NASCAR games will have the end of the month to grab free previous titles before they get pulled. There's a new era for NASCAR games coming in 2025, for fans may want to grab the previous titles while they still can. Motorsport Games, the company that until recently held the rights to make NASCAR racing games, has announced that all of its NASCAR titles and associated DLC will be pulled from digital storefronts on December 31st. The silver lining from that announcement is that titles like NASCAR Heat, NASCAR Rivals, and NASCAR Ignition will be going on sale before the games are delisted. All the affected games and their physical disc counterparts will remain playable after January 1st, 2025. They just won't be directly available for online purchases. NASCAR branded games date back to 1991 with Bill Elliott's NASCAR Challenge, and the license has been utilized by several different gaming publishers over the decades. The current NASCAR rights holder is Racing, which reportedly plans to release NASCAR 25 across all consoles and PC in fall of 2025. Real-life NASCAR racers have previously shown their support for games based on their events. Perhaps most notably, Ross Chastain, credited in NASCAR 2005 for his thrilling wall-rider finish in 2022. NASCAR subsequently banned the move as a potential safety hazard. So let's look at the comments. Deadman Rolling goes, among all kinds of racing games, perhaps NASCAR received the least amount of attention in recent times. I remember checking out a few demos back then, but never ended up buying any of those games. Perhaps the new game can fare better. Did you ever play any of the NASCAR games?
Oh, wow. The only NASCAR I can think of, if it is NASCAR, is Daytona. Daytona 500, the game from Sega Saturn. And
yeah, I don't think that was a NASCAR game.
It was like, Daytona, we're gonna win it.
I think that's like asking if Cruis'n USA is a NASCAR game. It's like, no.
I'm sorry, guys. As you can tell, last time I watched a racing competition on ABC7 or any of those respected television program was like at least 10 years ago. And that was back then. I was freaking paranoid and medicated to the point that I can't remember anything half the time.
Well, that took a dark turn, as it usually does with Dr. Games 101.
Yes, really it is times back then.
But, yeah, I don't even think I played a NASCAR game. My older brother did. I remember him playing one time, and he also never returned the game to Blockbuster. But that's a story in itself. Because I heard he had to pay for the game and then still had to return it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah. So the NASCAR titles, I understand why they were around in the 90s, but it's kind of like once we got Need for Speed, once we got driving was once we got Crazy Taxi in the late 90s, once we got a whole slew of racing games. You got your Gran Turismo, you had your Forza titles, Motorsport and Horizon, you had Destruction Derby 64, and I think Destruction Derby 64 also had a sequel, although don't hold me to that.
Right.
You had the driver games on PlayStation. You had so many driving titles that NASCAR, while NASCAR may be the most popular notoriety, I don't think their games did that well, to be honest.
Yeah, NASCAR entity is like a niche thing right now for quite some time now. It wasn't like it once was 30 years ago when the technology was getting up there with the racing cars and stuff. Like, notice that back 40 years ago was different in cars than it is now. So it's kind of like that moment where it's like, that we're at that peak now in our society or with any sports arena or sports world, that NASCAR is kind of the least popular thing to watch so far in sports.
Yeah.
In my perspective, that is. Because I used to watch it back in the 90s, no problem. 90s, early 2000s. Watch it. Every racing game I watch whenever I can on TV, the Saturday night or Saturday afternoon into the nighttime. It was pretty cool to see those racing cars like Jeff Gordon and all that stuff. So, He was the most popular racer back in the '90s, and I had a poster of him. Don't have it right now anymore, but I had a poster of him off of a cereal box of, I think it was Pops cereal or Kicks. I'm not sure, but yeah, that was a big deal back then to watch NASCAR. Now it's like, who really watches it these days? It was the video games or the basketball, football, baseball. So
Yeah, but I mean, my point is basically, if you want to play a driving game or a racing game, there's so many more titles to choose from than just a NASCAR game or a Daytona game, or there's just so many. There's just so much more content to choose from, basically.
Yep, those are good old days back then.
But it does. But I mean, it does suck that the NASCAR games are being delisted, except for a few. But you do have till the end of 2024 to get your hands on a title, if digitally, if you want. After 2024 is over, the titles will be available physically if you can find them, but they won't be available digitally. So that's what the December 31st, 2024 deadline really is how they'll be available digitally. If you can't buy them until next year, you're gonna have to get them physically from somewhere.
Yeah, let's hope that they'll have a remastered version of all the NASCAR games and put it all in one, like they did with the rare replay of its games. So,
maybe like a collection. Like you take the best tracks from the best games, you take the best cars from each game, you take the best so and so, and kind of make a NASCAR anthology.
That'd be cool. I'll buy $100 for that if I have to.
Yeah. So that's something. Whoever owns the rights to the NASCAR games, that's something they could do.
Yeah, if you want to revitalize the fandom of NASCAR racing, that's one way to do it. Put a compilation game or a remaster collection, and then sell it for about, say, $5 to $100, depending upon if you want the DLC or the premium edition, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the only thing that sucks is the DLC is also going to be going away, and unless you find someone who has unless you're buying a hard drive or a memory card with that NASCAR game, the DLC is going to be gone forever, because DLC is very rarely released physically.
Yeah, very rarely. Last time we did something like that was back in the 2000s with the Tomb Raider games, like Tomb Raider Gold Edition and such and such.
They did that. They did it with Grand Theft Auto 4. They had the Lost and Damned and the Ballad of Gay Tony first come out digitally as DLC, and then they released it as Grand Theft Auto Episodes from Liberty City once both DLCs came out. So that's the last time I remember a game company doing that.
I bought Lost in the Damned on the Xbox version. I was on store back last year or two. It was on sale for like $5. I was like, let me get that before I get the Grand Theft Auto 4 original, because for original was on sale for about not even $15 the other year or two. So
well, the Lost and Damned is basically just revolves around the gang that Nico had some experience with. Like, if you remember Nico and Playboy, they teamed up with a biker to do a drug deal, and the buyer turned out to be an undercover police. And that's when Nico and Playboy had to escape getting to the roof, and the biker escaped getting to his bike on the street. Basically, that biker, this is his story. Like, what happened besides that drug deal did not work out.
I see what you mean. Okay. One day I will play those games, Jeff, for Auto 4 and the DLC, the Ballad of Gay Tony and Lost in the Damned. I have Lost in the Damned so far with the GTA 4 games, so.
Okay. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We can move on now.
Alright. Next Game Pass release is a Crash Bandicoot kart racer, and that may not be all.
Ooh.
Crash Team Racing Nitro Refueled arrives on Game Pass very soon. The calendar has flipped over to December, and while Microsoft isn't ready to reveal all the games headed to Game Pass this month, the company has announced one, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled. The racing game from Activision hits Game Pass on December 4th. Update. Microsoft has since announced lots of games coming to Game Pass in December. This might not be the only Crash game headed to Game Pass soon, as an Amazon Fire Stick leak suggests Crash Bandicoot 4 is also coming to Game Pass. This is unconfirmed for now, though. Before this, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy came to Game Pass this past August. Other games confirmed for Game Pass in December include Overthrown and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Microsoft officially closed the deal to acquire Activision Blizzard in October of 2023, and since then, Microsoft has begun to put some, although few, Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass, including the aforementioned Crash game, as well as Diablo 4, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, launching the Game Pass at the end of October this year, is arguably the biggest Game Pass release to date. Microsoft typically releases a blog post containing all of the Game Pass additions and removals for the first half of a given month near the beginning of the month. This hasn't happened yet, but if history is any indication, it should happen this week. While Microsoft's own website listed all the Game Pass titles getting removed in the first half of December, and you can see them in the gallery below. Let's see if I can pull this up. All 13 games leaving Game Pass in December revealed. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not covering something that I already have planned. Okay. Yes, I'll go over this. I'll go over this quickly. On the way out, Microsoft has revealed all the titles exiting Game Pass for the final month of the year, highlighted by Rise of the Tomb Raider. But Lara Croft isn't alone. The subscription service will remove 13 games in total by the end of the month. Rise of the Tomb Raider is a sequel to the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot by developer Crystal Dynamics, and at one point was a timed Xbox One exclusive. The action-adventure game originally launched in 2015 and saw Lara searching for the mythical city of Kidsa. For more, check out GameSpot's Rise of the Tomb Raider review. Meanwhile, it was known Forza Horizon 4 was already being delisted in December, but now we also know this means the racing game will be removed from Game Pass too. It's a superb entry in the spin-off Forza series from Playground Games. A couple story titles will also hit the exits: The Quarry and Amnesia the Bunker. They'll be joined by 3 more lighthearted games. In Forager, Rainbow Billy, The Curse of the Leviathan, and Tin Hearts. LEGO 2K Drive and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battles are among the other titles leaving at the end of December. Remember, subscribers can get 20% on these titles, and while they are still part of the Game Pass catalog, over the weekend, Game Pass did remove titles for November, which we covered earlier. So, how do you feel about the titles being removed in December?
I'm sorry, I thought we were talking about Crash Bandicoot Kart right now. Are we doing that still?
We can do both, whichever you want.
If I start with the Crash Bandicoot kart racing game, that's pretty interesting to see that happen for the next few months from now, and because they were in the Nitro Fuel back in 2018, 2019, give or take, and that was a good experience because they rebooted or remastered the graphics and the part of the gameplay a little bit. You know, it's pretty cool for them to do that. People still play to stay online, but only at like weekend nights. Depends on what time of the night you play them on. So, because obviously back 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, people played it all day, every day, no problem. Now it's like everyone wants to do its thing, like Black Ops 6 or what's the other one? Microsoft's games and all, Starfield. So yeah, it's the point where it's like I wish they could do like a little bit of a double pack offer where they put like Spiral Reignite trilogy with Crash Bandicoot trilogy, and or
Right.
With the kart race game too at the same time. That'd be great too, for a certain amount of price. But that's for newcomers, for new people, new gamers, from my perspective. Because I already got.
Would you like to see Crash Bandicoot 4 hit Game Pass?
Oh, that'd be cool. Because I would save a lot of money right there. Because they still sell it for $60 less than my check. It was on sale for like $30, but I didn't have the money for it back then, of course. So, but Crash Bandicoot 4 is like I just finished playing. Well, not finished, but at one point I did beat Crash Bandicoot. Not 1, but 3. 2
Okay.
I just started playing because I still playing the trilogy reunited, the remastered trilogy that is. because I
The
never
Insane
played.
Trilogy.
Yeah, the Insane Trilogy. Because I never played Crash Bandicoot 1 fully, and Crash Bandicoot 2 I never owned it until when I got the trilogy remaster. It's called what you just mentioned. So it's pretty cool to see these 3 games I'm playing. And Crash Bandicoot 3, I definitely beat it, fully beating it, because there's 5 more levels to complete in the game after you beat the game for the first time. And Crash Bandicoot 3, last time I checked, it's the same thing with Crash Bandicoot 2. So at Crash Bandicoot 1, I'm kind of stuck on that castle level where I go up against the tower and shit. It took me about 30 minutes to get up to that point, and then it's like I fail every time. So it's very challenging, Crash Bandicoot 1, definitely. So it's more power to me and to everyone who's playing that game.
Yeah. So for me, first I'll start with Crash Nitro Kart. That does sound great. I do remember you playing that like a couple of years ago when it first came out, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, the stream of it.
And then Crash Bandicoot 4 would be awesome because I do have, let's see, I have Crash Bandicoot 1 and 2 digitally on my PlayStation 3, but not the third one.
All right.
I never beat either of them, to be honest, even when I put them on my PSP. So there's that. As for the other games leaving Game Pass, though, in December, it's none of those games really affect me. Oh, I've only heard of a couple of them, to be honest. Like the lower tier titles that are being removed, I've never heard of before.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously everyone knows Forza, everyone knows Tomb Raider, but like I said, the other titles, most of them, this was like my first time hearing of them.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to say about the titles that are being removed. And it would be awesome if Crash Bandicoot 4 was coming to Game Pass, so at least people who have a Game Pass subscription would be able to try out the whole Crash Bandicoot, at least the main entry games, not spin-offs aside. Like I said, I like 1 and 2. I never got to play 3 or 4 though.
3 was good, I have to say. It felt like, you're on a motorcycle, you go up against the time guy, the guy that manipulates time and space and all. So that was a little challenging when I was a kid. So I was like 13, 12, 11 years old when I first started playing Crash Bandicoot 3. Warped! That's what it's called, yeah, warped! Because you manipulate time and space to defeat Uka, and Dr. Neo Cortex and all. So I remember like it was the back of my hand, like it was yesterday. So that's how I played that Crash Bandicoot 3 game. It was that not super challenging, but you will get your time in for these games for the first time, being that. So
okay,
yeah.
And as for and what about
Crash Bandicoot 4?
Yeah.
Never played it yet, but I'm sure it's still good.
Okay. All right. So these games are coming to. So Crash Nitro Kart is coming to Game Pass. Crash Bandicoot 4 is just a rumor. But the Crash Insane Trilogy should already be on there.
Yeah, Spiral too, surprisingly.
No, that's not being removed.
I mean, it's already on the Game Pass, right? Spiral on the Dragon.
Yeah, it's already. It came to Game Pass in August, according to the article.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We can move on.
Okay. We only got like 4 more stories for tonight. So next, one of the best puzzle games is ever coming to Switch Online. Dun 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 dun. Nintendo continues to build up the Switch library game by game, or in this case, Tetramino by Tetramino. The original Tetris for NES will arrive on the subscription service December 12th. On X, the official Nintendo of America account announced Tetris for NES is on their way later this month for Switch Online members. This specific version of the classic puzzle game is also part of the collection in Tetris Forever, which also includes Tetris Battle, Garden, and Super Bombless. The compilation basically seems like a dream for Tetris fans. There has been a steady stream of game additions to Switch Online over the past couple of months. For instance, last week we saw 3 Sega Genesis titles arrive on Switch Online and expansion pack, including Toe Jam and Earl and Panic on Funkatron. Interestingly, that specific game is actually one of many that Sega is delisting from Steam this month. Last month, Donkey Kong Land for Game Boy dropped on Switch Online. The platforming title from Rare attempts to bring the side-scrolling gameplay of Donkey Kong Country on SNES to the less powerful handheld system. Another Rare title also came to the subscription service in October with Banjo-Tooie. Switch Online is the basic membership that costs $20 a year for individuals and includes access to the NES, NES, and Game Boy titles. Meanwhile, the premium expansion pack tier goes up to $50 annually for individuals to access Sega Genesis and Nintendo 64 catalogs, among other bonuses. Don't forget that subscribing to either will allow you to play Tetris 99 too. So, there is one comment. One moment. Blood Mist goes, the Game Boy version is the best version, which is already available. Shrug. So, did you ever play Tetris? And I'm talking about the Nintendo version, not the Tengen version, which came out first.
I played the Game Boy version that came out in 1987, 89, give or take. The one that came out for that system.
Okay.
I never played the Super Nintendo, let alone the DS versions as much or ever. DS I played while I was still at the. I think I was in the hospital at the time. I played with my ward mates, they called them, where they bring the game along with the systems and all that. We played that. I played that once in a while back then. That is, but definitely the Game Boy version I loved the most. I spent how many hours and how many years of my life trying to master the blocks and all, and the highest I ever got in score was about level 13, if not level 14, for about 60,000 points, surprisingly. So I was going to screenshot it, but you can't back then. So
Right.
it was back about 10, 15 years ago I did that shit. That was pretty cool.
But did you ever play the NE of the original NE? There were 2 Tetris games released for the Nintendo. Did you ever play either of them?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Just the Game Boy version so far.
Okay. I did have the original Tetris for Nintendo, which I used to have it.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. You know, you can play Tetris on almost anything these days. But at the same time, most people love playing Tetris because it's kind of relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, definitely. Makes you think too.
Yeah, so I mean, and you know, people still play it to this day. It sucks the Tengen version's not there because the Tengen version, which came out before the Nintendo version, which also released on Nintendo, was allowed 2 players, but it was delisted just a month after it came out because a dozen different developers said they owned the rights to Tetris, and when Nintendo won the court battle, Tengen had to take their version of Tetris off the shelves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what happens when game copyright IP ownership is not being tracked correctly.
Yeah.
Many companies say they own the same IP, and then it has to go to the courts. And so, I guess, I mean, I kind of want to say Tetris is brainer, but even if you didn't play it on Nintendo, maybe you played it on a Game Boy or you played it somewhere else. I used to have it for the game. I used to have Tetris Battle for the Game Boy. No, it's Tetris Plus, excuse me, for the Game Boy. So, if you want to play Tetris, there's many different ways to play it. I just don't see it as a selling point.
Yeah, many different versions out there for the last 30 years, especially. I wish I could find the other versions from the past on the Super Nintendo, the original on the cartridge, though. But you gotta talk to people both in person and online to find those type of games. Also, you get the emulations. Don't get me wrong; you can always emulate them, but the originals always kind of have a good price on them. They haven't scalped yet, to my awareness yet. So,
I think the original Tengen version is expensive, but the one from Nintendo Um, they are so common you can find them for pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's a flea market or something, right?
No, no, no. Even Tetris itself. I'll look up price charting right now to see what those games go for.
Okay.
Hmm. Okay, let me see. Uh, all right, Tetris. Uh, okay, the original Tetris. Yeah, it's $11 loose for the Nintendo one made by Nintendo. I'll see if I can find the Tengen one. Uh, the game. By the way, the Game Boy one is $16 loose.
Mm-hmm.
The Tengen Tetris. That's for PC. I don't see the Tengen one on price charting. I'll definitely see on eBay just if it's available. So let's see. Tetris, Tengen. Uh, yeah, people are selling the complete versions of the Tengen Tetris uh, for like hundreds of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, it's a pre-owned copy, but it includes the box. I'm assuming everything inside, or if it's just the box itself. That's for $247. $7. The Tengen version, which shows the game, the box, the manual, and the manuals, that and a poster, that shows $310. Oh, here, that's broken, so that's never mind. So yeah, you're gonna be paying like $100 or hundreds if you want the Tengen version, but if you want just the normal version of Tetris, it's like $10 to $15 depending whether you get it for Nintendo or Game Boy.
That's not bad. Okay.
Of course, those are cartridge only prices.
All right.
Um, is there anything else that you'd like to add, or ready to move on?
I had thoughts for this topic. We can move on.
Okay. Next, Bioshock meets The Thing in Deeposphere, a new single-player horror game. Deeposphere is said to be part 1980s action horror movie, part Metroidvania, and part immersive sim. From the PC Gaming Show, the team behind the Twin Peaksy adventure game Virginia and Annapurna's Last Stop has revealed Deeposphere, a first-person horror action game that blends an intriguing list of influences. Citing movies like The Thing, The Abyss, and The Fly, Deeposphere hopes to capture some of the subversive body horror and creature feature elements of the 1980s horror scene while pairing it with gameplay influences that are similarly beloved. Variable State calls the game a Metroidvania immersive sim, and look back on games like Metroid Prime, System Shock 2, and Dead Space to piece together its world. Set 7 miles deep in the ocean, Deeposphere cast players as Danny Cowell, a survivor aboard a facility called Neptune, where she must fend off inhuman enemies that emerge from the water. Unfortunately for players, Neptune is taking on water, leaving many opportunities for monsters to threaten her and others she encounters during the survival story. Using a real-time fluid simulation, monsters can appear from any water source as it sloshes around the doomed facility, making enemy encounters unpredictable while inviting creative problem-solving in the vein of System Shock 2. The project may sound like a far cry from what the team has made before, those being narrative adventure games, but Variable State says the game is designed to keep intact the team's tradition of confrontational storytelling. Besides, it's arguably not even the most surprising game the team has in the works. In 2025, Variable State is also self-publishing Polaris, a co-op shooter with a cel-shaded style. Deeposphere will arrive first on PC, but the team suggested future platforms will be announced later. There's one comment. Paper Wario 17 goes, is this not a sequel to Deep Fear? That's a game from 1998 with sort of this premise. So what do you think of this new horror game that's called
Deeposphere, yeah.
yeah, Deeposphere?
I never saw the trailer. Is there a trailer for it by any chance?
Let me go back up and see if I can find one. Yes, there is a trailer.
You don't need to play it
So
right now, but yeah, I'll look at it later. The trailer,
okay,
but yeah, Bioshock meets the thing. I mean, I played the first Bioshock as well as Bioshock Infinite.
right.
Um, I have to say that the Infinite is very different of the series altogether,
Yep.
Bioshock. But if they're going to incorporate that gameplay too, plus the thing as well, that's kind of like this weird open, not platform, but like this open world type of sense of the deepest sphere. That'd be great, because the thing involves, mutating from person to person, without notice, and it's like the movie itself, the original, not the one with the female in it, but the original thing from 1980s. That was a good one, very good one, version of the thing, and that was the original the thing as well. So yeah, it's creepy, it's scary at first. The first time watching it, I was like, oh shit, he's mutated. Oh my god, you know, something like that. I was how old I was? I was like, it was gonna be at least 10 years ago before I saw it for the first time, if not 15 years ago actually. 'Cause I had it on DVD, if not on Amazon Prime. So pretty cool to have Amazon Prime back then. But yeah, man, it's gonna be interesting experience to see that happening. If it's pulled off right, put some themes in there like they did with the Bioshock, with the sweat off your brow and work ethic and communism, and along with the things, mutation, all that. That'd be cool to see that. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, Bioshock, obviously, yeah. I mean, that's I could see where they're going with this. Bioshock's kind of like the underwater world. Um, they're
if
probably taking from Dead Space the part that you're isolated and alone. System Shock 2. If I remember, if I'm thinking of the correct game, you got this like disembodied head speaking, threatening you like in a robotic voice. So that's probably. But that, like, and all these games are being drawn from to inspire Deepest Fear. So yeah, these games, I'm definitely interested in what they're doing with Deepest Fear. There was a game called Cold Fear that took place on a ship for the original PlayStation. I
mm,
hope it's not like that, because Cold Fear was just very hard to explore. You didn't know where to. It was one of those I don't know where to go games unless I'm looking at a walkthrough.
or it
Um,
is also here, yeah, just experiment every now and then where to go
yeah.
to. Because back
So
in the PlayStation era, the first PlayStation games, you didn't have all that hold your hand moments. You had to
right.
figure it out on your own.
Yeah. But speaking of BioShock, I did have the whole collection on Xbox One. I
Yep,
did beat all three games. Um,
nice.
yeah, so and I just sold the collection for Xbox One.
Nice. I
Um,
kept on to. I got the Xbox One collection as well as Infinite, the original for 360.
yeah, well the BioShock collection for Xbox One had all three games: BioShock, BioShock 2, and BioShock Infinite.
Oh yeah, I remember.
And
I still got it.
it came with all the DLC for all three.
Yeah, I got the Xbox One version.
Okay. So yeah, so I mean, these are great games to draw from, and I definitely want to hear more about Deepest Fear as more gets released about it.
Oh yeah,
So that's definitely a game I'll be keeping my eye on as more information gets released. Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
we can move on.
Okay, we only got a couple more stories. So PlayStation was worried about Xbox, which prompted GTA exclusivity deals. We were worried when we saw Xbox coming. According to PlayStation veteran Chris Deering, Sony was anxious about the original Xbox, and that concern prompted the company to sign an exclusivity deal with Take-Two for Grand Theft Auto. We were worried when we saw Xbox coming, Deering recalled in a recent EGX event in London, as reported by GI.biz. We knew exclusivity was the name of the game in a lot of fields. With that concern in mind, Deering said he approached third-party publishers and developers to ask if they would be interested in taking a special deal for timed exclusivity for any of their upcoming games. Deering and company didn't realize GTA would become such a massive franchise, but that bet seemed to pay off, as GTA 3 took the series into a new direction with a 3D open-world approach. One of the deals we made was with Take-Two for the next three Grand Theft Auto games. At the time, it wasn't clear that Grand Theft Auto 3 was going to be as huge as it was because it used to be a top-down game. Deering said, "It was very lucky for us, and actually lucky for them because they got a discount on the royalty they paid. Those deals aren't uncommon in industries with platforms, including today with things like social media." The original Xbox would go on to launch in November 2001, but GTA 3 did not show up on Xbox till November 2003. The timed exclusivity deals extended Vice City and San Andreas. While the exclusivity deal ended there, GTA 4 and GTA 5 launched on PlayStation and Xbox at the same time. Sony did continue to work with Rockstar on special deals. For example, GTA 5 was announced for PS4 at Sony's E3 briefing in 2014. There's no word on if Rockstar had any special relationship with Sony or Microsoft for Grand Theft Auto 6, however. As for Deering, he left Sony in 2005. He also made headlines recently when he said recent video game industry layoffs were not due to corporate greed alone, but are instead part of general macroeconomic conditions. Deering was roundly criticized for saying people who have been laid off can just go to the beach for a year. So let's look at comments about this. Dan Mage goes, "And it was a stroke of genius. GTA changed everything, but that said, the PS2 kicked ass at the end of 2001. GTA 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, Silent Hill 2, Gran Turismo 3, also, THPS 3, Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy X, Jak and Daxter, SSZ, Tricky, Unimusha, WWF SmackDown, Twisted Metal Black. They're just the ones I remember, so I do not think Xbox had a chance either way." Illegal Peanut goes, "I mean, he is not wrong in saying it's due to macroeconomics, but Jesus, there was an insane lack of foresight with the industry in the early 2020s. Like, did business people really think they could ride the COVID train forever? To make it worse, instead of investing in R&D and company sustainability, they keep tossing every extra penny at stock market manipulation and corporate raises. Like, what happened to leadership accountability?" And Faith Void goes, "Oof, so spending hundreds of millions on garbage over and over is a macroeconomic condition now? Or was it the delusion of infinite and exponential growth in media after we were all allowed to leave our home again?" Okay, two different conversations. One I want to get into, one I don't. So, basically, and we could even go over the comment that named all the exclusives that PlayStation 2 had over the Xbox. So, what do you think about PlayStation or this person announcing that, yeah, we were worried about Xbox when it first came out. That's why we had timed exclusivity for the Grand Theft Auto game, starting with Grand Theft Auto 3. Hello?
I'm here.
Yeah. So, what do you think about this? What do you think about this guy saying the reason they had timed exclusivity with Grand Theft Auto franchise was saying we were worried about Xbox?
Well, to be honest, I mean, originally GTA was on the PlayStation systems, especially the first three, if not four GTA games, right? So,
the first, let's see, GTA 1 and 2 was on PlayStation 1. 3, Vice City and San Andreas were on PlayStation 2, but 3, Vice City, and San Andreas eventually came to Xbox after timed exclusivity ran out.
I see. Okay, I can't say much about it because I did play GTA games, especially GTA 3, Vice City, San Andreas. No 4, unfortunately not yet, but definitely GTA 5 I definitely did play, and to me it's just as long as it works well on either platforms, that's fine with me, whether if it's on PlayStation or on Xbox. But I choose Xbox with GTA 5 this time, so because obviously affordability and also price didn't matter back then, especially the first for the Xbox 360 version.
Okay, I do want to go over what Stan Mage said. I'm just going to read the franchises he brought up again,
sure,
or the games he brought up again. Grand Theft Auto. These, I think, were all PlayStation 2 exclusives, at least at first.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, Silent Hill 2, Gran Turismo 3, Eco, THPS 3, I'm not sure what that is, DMC for Devil May Cry, Final Fantasy X, Jack and Daxter, SSZ Tricky, Unimusha, WWF SmackDown, Twisted Metal Black. All these games were like exclusive to the PlayStation brand. Do you think PlayStation had nothing to worry about with a lineup like that Xbox did not have access to?
Sorry, man. I'm just a little bit tired right now. But yeah, it is what it is. But obviously, Phil Spencer himself said that he could have bought GTA back years back, but he never got a chance to. So it's an anomaly in my perspective. What's just happened just now over the years with the exclusivity rights, but I can't say much about it really. So
okay,
on that situation.
I just want to say, that while Stan Mage, the games he brings up do present like PS2 had nothing to worry about. This because if you remember, the Xbox wrestling games were Raw 2 and WrestleMania 21.
Oh yeah,
with WrestleMania 21 being the worst.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because at least Raw worked like it was supposed to, even though it had very little content. Yeah. But to say that PlayStation had nothing to worry about, keep in mind, Xbox brought in Halo. Halo didn't exist before Xbox. So there were a lot. So, I wouldn't say PlayStation 2 had nothing to worry about, especially even though these are just some of the titles that were exclusive to PlayStation or PlayStation 2 at the time. But at the same time, you didn't know what Xbox was bringing to the table.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Dr. Games 101, do you remember anything besides Halo that was like a first-party game for Xbox that like Xbox brought to the table?
Gears of War. Okay, they can go so far.
Gears of War, thank you for that, yep. At least in the 360 age, yeah.
There was also Infamous. Was Infamous on the PS3? Or the...
Infamous was on PS3, I think, yeah.
Oh, man. Sorry about that. Oh, Prototype, actually. No, Prototype's on PS3.
No, Prototype was PS3 also.
Oh, man. Yeah,
I don't know if they were exclusive, though.
Yeah, I'm thinking of Xbox exclusives, and over the decades and a half of playing Xbox, it's kind of like I can't think of much, really. Only the independent games, like the ones I mentioned earlier, like the what's called the Penitence, or Sarah Sarah the Princess, the one I just played the other day or two on YouTube. So, yeah.
Yeah, so to say they had nothing to worry about, I think, like Chris Deering said, we didn't know. We saw Xbox coming, but we didn't know what they had to offer. That's why we reached out to developers and said, "Do you want to make a deal where a game will be exclusive to Sony PlayStation at least for a specific amount of time?"
Yeah,
and it turned out to at least make Sony a viable competitor, to at least, with whatever Xbox was going to bring out, Sony had something to counter it.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else, or ready to move on to the last story for tonight?
Yeah, we can move on.
Okay. Last story. One moment. Deathstroke rounds out Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League currently announced roadmap. But then what? Chillin' like a villain. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League gets its final Year 1 DLC character Deathstroke next week, alongside the launch of Season 4, but questions remain over Warner Brothers and developer Rocksteady's plan for the game's second year. Deathstroke and Season 4 come out on December 10th and kick off the end of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's currently announced roadmap as the game nears a year from launch. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was panned by critics and endured extremely low members on Steam. Some of the frustration stemmed from Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League not being another Batman game from Rocksteady, despite being set within the Arkhamverse. The developer's single-player Arkham series is much loved by fans, with 2011's Batman Arkham City in particular held up as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, superhero video games of all time. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, on the other hand, is a live-service third-person shooter in which Batman is a villain. Soon after the game's February 2024 release, publisher Warner Brothers admitted the failure of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League contributed to $200 million hit to revenue. In June, Warner Brothers told IGN that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League would see out its first year of support, but declined to comment on what happens afterwards. Deathstroke and Season 4 are the culmination of that first year, which has also seen the release of DLC characters Joker, Mrs. Freeze, and Lawless. Is this it for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League? IGN has asked Warner Brothers for comment. Earlier this year, Bloomberg reported that staff at Rocksteady were currently working on a director's cut of the phenomenally successful Hogwarts Legacy, while leadership pitched a return to single-player following its live service misstep. Did that pitch involve Batman? In November, Warner Brothers said it planned to double down on Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, and DC, in particular Batman, after its string of flops. So, let's look at comments. Force Team goes, what happens next is they shift the remnants of the team working on this to their next game. This game's servers remain up, but support ends. It dies a slow death and eventually be forgotten about. So, all good things then. Ducky Doom 2 goes, please, I just want another single-player game from them, but that doesn't involve a consultancy firm. And Stone Cold Mail 123 goes, unless it's a single-player game called Suicide Squad, kill the consultancy firm. And still goes, Pink Yen goes, wait, what? He isn't an emo freak or a gender swap, but actually Deathstroke, a character gamers may actually want. Very late in the game to introduce this. So, what do you think of Deathstroke coming out next in a few days for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League?
I have to say, it's after a year now, surprisingly, it's been a year since the game came out. That still baffles me to this day. So that's kind of like, who cares at this rate? I'm sure that's like about 100 people still play the game every day, all day long, but that's about it, really. And it's like it's irrelevant, the game itself, in today's time, my perspective.
Yeah, I don't think support. I don't think support's going to continue for this game. And I hope it's at the actual Deathstroke and not just a female version of Deathstroke.
I was going to bring those females. It's a good thing, though, sometimes. I have a gender bender version of certain heroes and characters, you name it, but, don't do it too much,
What they should have done.
Yeah?
What they should have done is Suicide Squad. Instead of kill the Justice League, kill these I don't know what you would call them, but have Suicide Squad killing the green hair weirdos that that would be better off keeping their mouth shut.
The green hair weirdos.
Blue hair weirdos too.
Yeah, the patriarchy.
Yeah, have Suicide Squad characters kill those people. That would be a game that would probably work. And the final boss for that game, Baby Inc. themselves.
Sweet Baby Inc. You see, Triple J, I don't mind diversity and inclusion to some extent, but I don't make it the actual 100% message. You still got to deal with the player base who are predominantly of another, group of people that are not in tune or not accepting this new culture or this new way of doing things. And I'm very surprised that there's developers, there's consultants coming into these gaming industries thinking that they could change people's minds around via the gamer audience. I'm like, you're not gonna do that right away, and you're never gonna do it right away like that because they're not like that. They're men who take care of their wives and children. Some of them are single, living in their parents' basement, whatever the case may be. It is what it is. Let them be. Let them give them what they want. Don't try to force it down people just to accept your counterculture. You want to call it like that? What SJWs, whatever it's called. It's sickening.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and you would think they. And the thing is, it's not just that. I mean, Gotham Knights came out after Batman Arkham Knight, and that wasn't really received well either.
That's the VR game, right?
No, it was basically where you could either control Robin or what's the other alter ego of Robin besides Robin?
Nightwing
or Batgirl.
I think it's called Nightwing. You're trying to say, right?
Nightwing, yeah, that's who I was trying to think of. You could control one of four characters, and basically they were trying to clean up Gotham City where Batman left off after the death of Batman in Arkham Knight,
right?
Or the stage death of Batman in Arkham Knight. So I mean, they were, but that didn't work out too well either. Obviously, none of the characters were as cool as Batman. And some of the Batman villains weren't afraid by Robin or Batgirl or Nightwing. So
let's refer to that teen show, Teen Titans, not the older version, but the newest one, where they had all those teams of Teen Titan oppositions. A team, whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about, right? Those heroes or villains, actually.
Yeah.
So,
but I'm just saying, like. There's a scene like in Gotham Knights where Batgirl confronts Penguin, but Penguin has absolutely no interest in giving up any information to Batgirl. He's like, "You want information out of me? Send Batman down here. Otherwise, I'm not telling you jack." So
that'd be discriminatory, huh?
Well, not just that. It's like I said, Batman would say, "Talk, or I'll knock you out."
While the girl said, "Give me all your information, the patriarchy." I'm sorry to give her. I'm sorry. I shouldn't just be doing that shit.
But anyway, yeah. So I mean, if they go back to single player games, that would be nice. If they leave all this crap at the door, that was like gender swapping characters and stuff, that would be even better. But yeah, Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. People spoke with their wallets. It's not the answer the gaming executives were hoping for, but you got the answer about people rejecting this shit. So
yeah.
Anything else to add, or ready to move on?
We can go on to the last topic, I believe we're on, right?
Well, that was actually the last topic. Okay. I hope you enjoyed this. This was episode 110 of the Let's Discuss Gaming podcast. I will try to make sure that our next podcast is on the 21st of December, 2 weeks from tonight. Dr. Games 101, do you have anything planned for tomorrow?
I'm not sure if it will be exactly tomorrow, but I've been playing other games like Cyberpunk and 2077, that is, and the Princess Sarah's Chronicles, and to play more games, other sample game playing. Think about doing the Penitence game I told you guys I want to do one day with you guys. That's about it, really, for the time being. But if everything else goes well as planned, I'll do a stream around Christmas week. That'll be 2 weeks from now, though. I'm not sure yet, so still plan on that.
Okay, yeah, I'm not so sure because I've been spending more time with my cousins. So also the power strip where where all my consoles are plugged into, that power strip doesn't work anymore.
That's not good.
well, it's just dead, but it lasted 12, 13 years being used every day, so it was good. But also, um, I guess I'll reveal it now. I also haven't been working because of problems with the job's login program. So I'm also in the process of looking for a new job. So I'm also not spending money on things um, that are luxury right now. Um, so basically, um, I mean, I could always plug a certain specific console into the wall and stream it. I do plan to play Total Extreme Wrestling 2020. People loved it when I did the AEW stream a couple weeks back, so I'll definitely be doing that. Um, but my online activity, don't be surprised if it's also falls from what it was, because if it's less than it was, because also I do spend time on my online business, which at least brings in some money here, some money there.
Okay.
So yeah, so until next time, good night, everyone.
Later, guys.